It simply says that basically Leetcode is about to start their IPO and they have to sell some shares on good prices, and they have at most K distinct projects before the IPO, which means they can finish at most K distinct project before the IPO, and for those projects they will get something, some profit. So it says that you have to maximize the capital. Capital is what you gain by profit. Ultimately, you will have some projects. Ith project will have a profit, saying profit of I, and it needs this much amount of capital needed so far. And initially, I have W capital by my investors. And each time I finish a profit, sorry, each time I finish a project, I will gain a profit that will be added in my capital. So every profit will keep on adding in your capital. It is not that, okay, let's say you finish a project, so you have to you have to spend that capital. You have to spend that capital in the project. No, it is just required capital. As soon as you finish a project, your capital will remain intact. Whatsoever you had profit, you will just get the extra profit. That's a condition. I'll show you the example also. Ultimately, you have to pick at most K distinct projects which you can pick such that you can maximize your final capital. For example, in this case, I can see that for the first project, it needs a capital of 0. And in the very beginning, my total profit or my total capital is also 0. So I can say in the very beginning, my total capital is 0. I need 0 capital to start the first project, and I can very easily start the first project. I cannot in the very beginning start the project number 2 and 3. I cannot. Okay, if I can only start this first project, okay, I will start this, and if I complete it, I will gain this much profit of 1. Okay, I gain a profit of 1. Now my total capital, total profit is now 1. Now I have this much amount of 1. What all I can choose? I have already choose the first project. I cannot choose it again. I can choose this and this because my total capital right now is 1. I can easily choose this and this because the capital required for this projects are 1 and 1, and I have 1 as a capital. So I can choose this or this. Now you know that you have already chosen one project. You can only choose at max 2 projects. So now you have to only choose out of these two. You have option out of these two. You can only choose one. For sure, I am greedy. I will want maximum capital, so I will choose the project which will give me a profit of 3. So in the very beginning, I got the profit of 1. Now I got the profit of 3. My profit is 4 in total. Thus my answer is 4. Now, so you realize that you will be given some n projects. Out of them, you have to choose key projects and you have to maximize your total capital. So it is very obvious, or it feels obvious that, okay, I have these projects, sorry, I have these profits, I have these capitals, which means I have these n projects. I have to choose k projects out of them, which means on every of the project I can have two options. Either I will choose it or I will ignore it. Choose it, ignore it, choose it, ignore it. So I can roughly say at every project I will have two options. Either choose that project or ignore that project, which means not choose that project. Now, not choose is very simple. Go on forward to the next project. But if I say I have to choose a project, they again mention a condition. You can only choose a project only and only when the current capital whatsoever you have, this capital, required capital whatsoever you are given, it should be less than or equal to the current total capital or total profit you have so far. This is what you have to maintain at every step so as to figure out what I can choose or not. Okay, choosing is my option, but if I am about to go and choose something, I should make sure that this condition should satisfy. Now it seems it's very obvious that at every point, if I land and if I try to choose any project, I will gain its corresponding profit. So this W, or I can say my total capital or my total profit, it keeps on increasing as I choose or as I take every project. So this is a variable part. Okay. And as I know, I have to go on to all the projects just so as to take or not take. So I have to ultimately go on. So I will have to take a variable called as I. And I also know that out of the n project, I can only choose k project. So I have to choose, like I have to take a k also in consideration. So it seems like that I will have to take I in consideration. I will have to take current W, which is the current total profit in consideration. I will also have to take the K, number of projects left to take in consideration. So roughly in the very beginning, I can say if I choose to do DP, which is choose not choose, I will be requiring I into K into W maximum value, which means current profit, which what's the maximum value it can go. This will be the complexity roughly. Okay. Now, one thing is, even if you are about to try DP, which would for sure give you TLE based on the constraints, still, even if you would have tried DP, how would you have tried that? For sure, let's say I would have given you, okay, these are 3 projects with you. Initial capital which I have given, or initial profit or initial total cost you have given is 5. Your profit is 113. Now, if I ask you, if you would have applied DP, you would have gone on to the first index, which is the 0th index. You would have asked, take not take. Obviously, you cannot take because it requires 7. I only have 5. Okay. You will go on to the next capital. Next project. You also cannot take because you only have 5. Required is 9. You cannot take. Then you will go on to the next one. Oh, 2. 2, you cannot. You can easily take 2. Okay. Because my 2 is less than my 5. So I can take my project number 3 and I can gain a profit of 3. Thus, my total capital will now become 8. 5 plus 3, 5 is existing. 3, I got a new profit. I got a 8. It ended right here. And I went about my DP. Like I went straight with my DP, the approach which I take, like which I have thought of. But is this the optimal answer? Obviously not. Why obvious? Why it's so obvious? Obvious is because if I would have got 8 as a total capital, I would have easily tried my 7 requirement of capital because 7 is less than 8. So after this third project, I could have gone back to my first project. And then when this project is done, first project, I could have gone back to my second project. But if in a DP or in any kind of iterative try mechanism, you go on from one place to other. You never keep on shuffling between places, else you will go in an infinite loop. So we realize we have to do a sort on the basis of what? On the basis of my capital, required capital. So I realized just even to apply my DP itself, I have to sort on the basis of my capital. Now I can very easily say that in the very beginning, I have 5, I have a 2, I will gain this because 2 is less than 5, so I can gain this. My profit or my total capital will now become 8. 8 is less than my 7. Yeah, sorry, 8 is more than my 7, so I have more capital. I can take my 7 also in consideration. I will get a profit of 1. Now my total capital is 9. 9 is less than equal to my 9. Okay, I'm good to take that also. My total capital is 10. And thus my total profit, I can say, will be 10. Thus you realize one thing for sure, that again, it will be O of N into W into K, which will for sure give daily, but you still realize that you will have to sort even if you want to apply a DP also. But still DP will not work. Obviously, I have to think of something else. Now, let's think of something else. Firstly, what you learned from above, whatsoever you thought and went through the algorithm, like whatsoever you thought above, just write it down in one line. You realized that firstly, you have to sort on the basis of your capital, just so that you always consume less capital, because in the very beginning you have a bound of a capital. But then you will have a question, Aryan, but you are wrong. Your ultimate aim was to maximize your total profit. So, okay, I will mix both of them. I will say, okay, you will consume low capital, but out of all those low capitals, it is your task to take the highest profit project. Because now, why highest profit project? Because you have a limit of K. You can only take K projects. So it is your responsibility to always take the highest profit projects. And low capital, why it is required? Because you have a limit of W, or you can say total profit W in the very beginning. You have that limit. That is the reason you have to always try consuming low capital, and always make sure that you are like always taking the project which have high profit, because you have a limit of K. You can only take K, at most K projects. Now combining both of them, you have got your answer. How? Let's see. Let's take an example again. That's a general example. You have a profit, you have a capital. Firstly, we realize we have to sort the capital on the basis of its requirement capital. So I will sort it. The more right I go, the more capital I would need, because in the very beginning I know I have only W as the total profit with me. Now let's see. I realize that I will have in the very beginning as a W profit, but I also told that I cannot just safely assume that I will choose that profit whatsoever I am getting. No, for all the low capitals, I will choose the highest profit. So I know I have this W as my total profit. So this C1, C2, C3, considering this C3 is less than my W. So I know that C1, C2, C3 are all the low capitals for me. So all these are the low capitals. If these are the low capitals, I have to choose the highest profit one, which will give me the highest profit. And I know that out of these, W1 is giving me highest profit. So you realize I have this entire bunch of capitals which I can take, which means projects I can take, but in that also I choose to take the highest profit capital, highest profit project. So okay, in my existing W, I have gained more profit, which is W1. So my total profit has now become W plus W1. Cool. So you realize that you will have all these projects in some data structure, and out of that data structure you have to choose or grab the maximum profit. What is that data structure which will give you the maximum profit? It is simply your multi-set. Why multi-set? Because I can have multiple profits, multiple higher profits having the same value. So multi-set, or you can use a priority queue. Priority queue is a simple data structure which can help you give highest or smallest, which means maximum or minimum in O of login time. Cool. So I will store all these projects which have the capital requirement less than or equal to my total profit so far in a data structure, and that will be my priority queue or my multi-set. Cool. For simplicity, I will take a priority queue because that most of people know. Multi-set also know, you can take that also. Now let's proceed further. So now your total profit is W plus W1 because of this you have taken. If you have taken this, make sure to remove that from your priority queue. Now, if you have this as the new total profit, you know that now what is your capital requirement which you can afford. So I can afford, let's say up till C5 I can afford, which means that C5 is less than or equal to my W plus W1. W plus W1. It is less than or equal to my, my C5 is less than or equal to my W plus W1, which is my total profit right now. So for sure, I can take this C4, C5 also. But you only consumed W1 previously. Now, are you saying that you will iterate from the very beginning and check what all are not consumed and then put all those remaining in your data structure and then take minimum out of them? Maximum profit out of them? Obviously not. Why obvious? Because in the very beginning, when you iterated, you were here. You pushed in roughly, you can say, these elements. Again, you stopped here, you pushed in these elements. So can't I simply say that in worst case, how things can be possible is that at every step, you're pushing in these elements. Next step, next index, you're pushing in these elements. In the next third step, you're pushing in 3 elements. Fourth step, 4 elements. So roughly, it will be n square if you will go about this way. So I realized I should not push in all the elements again. No, I know that I have consumed this, so I will remove that from my data structure. I know these two are the extra new incoming ones, so I will add that in my data structure. So I will take the priority queue as my data structure. Whatsoever I'm consuming, I will remove that from my data structure, and whatsoever I'm getting, I will push those in my data structure, and thus I will simply keep on getting them. And ultimately, you can see out of all these in my priority queue, W4 will be the maximum. I will simply consume it, put it in my answer, which is my total profit. I'll put it in that. So my total profit will become W plus W1 plus W4, and thus I will have consumed that. Again, repeat the process until your K is exhausted, or you can say your priority queue is exhausted. Cool. Simply keep on repeating the process. Let's dry run with your existing example. Now, in the very beginning, you saw the example where the W, initial profit or initial total capital or initial total profit was 0. Your requirement was 2. You can take only 2 projects. Firstly, you will sort on the basis of your capital, but make sure when you sort it, you have the corresponding profit in place. That is the reason. Bind that in a form of a pair and then sort on the basis of capital, so that you have your capital profit of a project together. Okay, now I know my initial profit, my initial total profit is 0. So I can only take all the projects which have a capital less than or equal to 0. So I'll consume all these projects. I'll put all the corresponding profits in my priority queue. Thus my priority queue will have only one element, which is 1. Now, okay, when this is done, I know I should consume the highest priority project. So I will consume, as in the highest profit project, I'll consume the project, and if I consume it, I will add a 1 in my total profit. Now my profit has to become a 1. Initially 0, I added a 1, I got a 1. Now again, your total profit now is 1. No worries. Try consuming all the capital requirements less than or equal to 1. Okay, I will consume these two, which means I will push 2 and 3 in my priority queue. Make sure whenever you consumed a project, you remove that from the priority queue. So now you will push in 2 and 3 in the priority queue. Now when these are pushed, make sure again your task was to grab the maximum profit projects. I will grab a 3. So my profit has now become a 4. Why I grabbed the maximum? Why I did not grab the 2? Because here my total profit has now become a 4, right? It is 4. What if I had 4 later on and its profit giving capability would have been 1000, and my task was to choose 3 projects? So it would have been much better that I choose this maximum profit one. Then because of this, I will be able to reach to my capacity or the capital of 4. Then I was able to take this 1000 also, considering my K was 3. But okay, I think you got the essence and dry run of what we wanted to do. Cool. Let's quickly see how we will code it up. First, very obvious thing that you will have to iterate and try on push all those projects profits in your priority queue whose capital of I is less than or equal to your current total profit. So I will represent that as my total profit. Now I told you have to firstly make a pair that they remain together and sort them. So I will make a vector of a pair, simply a list of pair. First argument is capital, second argument is the corresponding profit. Why it is that? Because I will sort on the basis of its capital, because I want the capital to be in the increasing order. Okay, I will sort it in the ascending order. Simply sort. When this is sorted, you have your this pattern, which means capital and profit in the ascending order. Capital in the ascending order and the corresponding profit. Now simply your task is iterate on this and put all those profits in your priority queue. So I will take a variable, let's say j. My j will simply iterate. While j is less than my n, I can oh great. It is less than the n just because of that you cannot go out of bounds of the entire array. Now if that's the case, simply firstly grab whatsoever pair you have made VP. Firstly grab the first element that represents your capital of the corresponding project. If that is less than your total profit, that is initially W. Initially it is W. Then you can push that specific profit in your priority queue and keep on pushing it until you can push it, which means until your capital is less than your total profit, less than equal to. When this is done, you will have some elements in your priority queue. Out of all those elements, grab out the maximum element. So I will grab from the top of the priority queue, which is the maximum element, because priority queue by default is max heap. I will grab that, add my profit, and can remove and will remove that profit from the priority queue, which means removing that project from the priority queue. And ultimately, you should make sure that what if your priority queue becomes empty? It can be possible that you don't even go to any value, which means if I would have taken a very high value, what if these would have been 5 and 5? which means your K is still remaining. Your K is still remaining. K is 1, still remaining. But still, you cannot even consume any higher value. And I know that my capital is always sorted. So if in the current step, I tried for the current capital and it was not less than my profit, which means the current capital was 5. My total profit was, let's say, 1. If this current capital is not even less, then there is no chance. Again, if the priority is empty, so you cannot add anything in your profit. If the profit will remain same, and you will go on to the next capital, which can be either same or increase. So this means that if a priority queue becomes empty, there is no possible way that you can even get any more profit. So break out from here itself. And as we mentioned that I will have to try for all possible cases, right? Because it can be, it could have happened that you have this priority queue remaining in the existing example, remember? But there the K was 2. You reached the end, K was 2. You exhausted the 3. But still, if I would have said the K is 3, then in your priority queue, you still have something, but you have reached the end of the array. But you still should continue grabbing or making your priority queue empty, because you still have some K left. You will have 1 K left, because this you would have taken on the first step, next step this, but still, although you have reached the end of the array, still you should keep on consuming your priority queue because you still have some K left. So my one bound will be, okay, try in this entire stuff K times. For int I equal to 0, I is less than K, I plus plus. Try for this K times, because that is my bound which I should ideally keep on trying. And that is it. That is your code. That's your code. Cool. Let's see the code once again. So firstly, I have my profits, right? Then I have my vector of pair. Cool. I pushed in my capital and profit in this order because I want to sort on the basis of my capital. I sorted my capital on the basis of my capital because I simply sorted my VP. Then I went on my priority queue, and then I grabbed, simply try to take all these K projects. In worst case, I can take. I will try to push in all the capitals whose capital remaining or the capital requirement is less than equal to my total profit. I'll push those corresponding profit in my priority queue, and I will try to keep on doing this. If I have priority queue is empty, which means I could not push any capital corresponding profit in my priority queue because that would have been higher. So it means that in future also it will not be possible because my array is sorted on the basis of my capital, and ultimately add the profit, remove the profit, and ultimately this will be your total profit. As you know, you have done a sorting, you have done a priority queue, it will be O of n log n, and you have made a new vector of pair. That's the reason you have your space will be O of n, and this is your best case time and space complexity. I think that you realized why we moved from DP again. Firstly, why we thought of even DP, because it was option for us. Then we moved on and we realized DP will not work. Let's go on and try for our approach and see. Again, ultimately we realized that's the approach which we saw is a greedy approach. Cool. I hope you got it. Bye bye. Take care. Join Discord. And again, please, if we can get 45K done before June, that will be awesome. Bye bye.